Hey everybody, it's Jack and welcome back. I've got another awesome video planned for you all today. It's going to be a company review and analysis video. However, it's going to be a little bit different as it's actually an industry that I haven't really featured here on the channel. It's an industry that is huge. It's an almost $1 trillion industry. I'm talking hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars. It's an industry that's actually been around for hundreds of years, but it's not usually known to be an industry that's innovative. However, the company I'll be talking about today is doing just that. It's actually disrupting the space, which I think leads to a great opportunity potentially for investors. The company I'll be going over and reviewing here on the channel today is TAAT Global Alternatives, and what they're doing is actually flipping the tobacco industry on its head by providing a disruptive alternative to the classic cigarette. They offer a hemp-based product that is actually nicotine and tobacco free. In today's video, I'm going to be diving deep into what TAAT does, what their product is, how it's disrupting the space, and how it's innovative. And then I'm also going to be covering the actual industry and how they're actually taking a crack at the industry and changing it for the better. And then I'm going to touch on some tailwinds we're seeing in the market and how that leaves the door open and some opportunities for TAAT moving forward. I'm also just going to touch on some macroeconomic trends in society that also leads to the patterns we're seeing that are good signs for TAAT moving forward. So all of this is going to be featured in this video, and then later on, either later this week or potentially next week, I'm going to have a second video on TAAT where I actually dive deep into the technical analysis. So looking at the stock charts and trends, also diving into the financial statements and looking at those, how their revenue and income have been growing over the past few quarters. So again, that's going to be in a second video coming later this week or potentially next week. So definitely stay tuned for that. Before we get any further, I do want to make it clear and come out and say that this is a sponsored video on behalf of TAAT. They reached out to me, asked if I would feature them here on the channel. I looked into their company and I do think there's a cool opportunity here. They are being very disruptive and innovative in their own space. And I'm not personally a smoker, but I do have family and friends who are, and I can definitely see the use case for a nicotine and tobacco-free alternative to really just help people try and quit smoking and help a better alternative for them. I really do see the use case, but again, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, so make sure to always do your own due diligence before investing. So with that being said, what stock market does TAAT trade on? Well, if you're in Canada and you're Canadian, you can find TAAT on the Canadian Securities Exchange under the ticker symbol TAAT, TAAT. And if you're in the US, you can also find this one available to trade on the OTC markets under the ticker symbol TOBAF. And it is worth mentioning that if you are in the United States, that TAAT has applied for an uplisting. So that is definitely something that it has going for it. So it will be soon trading either on the NASDAQ or on the New York Stock Exchange. So that's definitely a plus and can hopefully drive some momentum for the stock going forward. With all that being said, let's now dive a little deeper into the company, the product, and the industry as a whole. So just quickly looking at the stock price for TAAT, we can see that in the Canadian version is currently trading at $4.23 per share, and it has a market cap of just over $400 million. So this is a smaller company, but not super small by any means, a well-sized small company, if that even makes sense. And then the American version on the OTC markets is trading at $3.25 per share at the time of filming this video. So let me just dive a little bit deeper into the actual product and company of TAAT. So TAAT, like I said, is a producer of hemp cigarettes focused on providing a nicotine-free and tobacco-free alternative to the traditional cigarette. The reason why this is attractive is that the tobacco in cigarettes is the majority of what causes health issues with smoking, and then the nicotine is the substance within the cigarette that actually causes the addictive trait in cigarettes. So by removing both of these, you have a substantially healthier product. Not only that, but TAAT's product also feels exactly like a real cigarette, and it also tastes exactly like it, smells like it, crackles and smokes just like it. So it really provides a great substitute for people who are trying to quit smoking, as they still get that exact same experience and feel of smoking the cigarette without the actual harmful aspects of a tobacco cigarette. And in their marketing, they actually go kind of by the brand Beyond Tobacco, kind of doing the same thing as Beyond Meat did in the actual food and meat industry, but they're trying to do that in the tobacco industry. It's a little gimmicky for sure, but it really gets the point across, and I think it's really effective. Instantly, once you hear of Beyond Tobacco, you instantly kind of know exactly what it's going to be because you already have that association in your brain with Beyond Meat and what they've done. and now TAAT is doing the exact same thing, but in the tobacco industry for tobacco. So I really think it actually is an effective marketing strategy. Another thing TAAT's product has going for it is actually price, which is huge. It comes down to price for a lot of things, and they actually retail their pack of cigarettes for around $4.99 per pack of 20, and that's definitely cheaper than the actual real tobacco cigarettes. On average, they can easily go from anywhere between $7 to $8 to $10 plus range. So it's definitely a good slash in price for the alternative. So this is definitely a strong suit and a really positive factor that TAAT has going for it moving forward, that it is priced cheaper than the alternatives. So now let's sort of shift our focus from the actual product that TAAT has to the actual industry and market. The tobacco industry is right now over $800 billion in size, so it's huge. And we're starting to see this big shift out of the tobacco industry and into more health conscious alternatives for people looking to get off of nicotine and tobacco cigarettes. And it also has one positive thing going for it, is that the fact that the Biden administration in the United States is actually heavily against tobacco and nicotine products. So they do have plans in place and are putting money towards actually reducing the amount of nicotine in cigarettes and actually banning certain varieties altogether. So this is a driving factor that might push TAAT into the limelight and actually help it moving forward. And the truly crazy thing is actually that there's said to be just south of 30 million smokers estimated to be in the United States. So if you think about that in terms of the Canadian population, that's almost the entire population of Canada that is smokers just in the United States alone, not even on a global reach. So there's a huge market just in North America alone that TAAT can reach, and they're really doing just that. They're seeing crazy growth over the past few months in their actual demand as it's grown quite dramatically. They've actually seen that in their initial rollout in Ohio about half a year ago, they had 150 stores, and more than 60% of those stores within 4 weeks requested a restock because they were sold out. And they've just been growing their distributors around the US like crazy, popping up in more and more states as demand grows. They've just added 7 more states recently. That was in the news. So the increased demand is going great for TAAT. They currently, with their distributors, have access to generate, I think, around 25 million packs of cigarettes every single year. So if you think that it turns into $5 per pack, that's over $100 million in revenue that they can have going for them right now as a company that I said is a $400 million market cap. And if they can hit that max capacity, those are really great PE ratios. Again, that's in an ideal world with perfect demand and max capacity. So we can always lower that down. But again, they have the capacity in their factories and through their distributors to really get their demand out there. So that's always a good thing and a huge plus for TAAT. And this is a stat that I actually found quite surprising that I'm about to show you is that the global tobacco market has actually been growing over the years and is still actually scheduled to continue to grow at pretty steady rates. So it's currently around $800 billion and it's set to grow by 2026 to over $1 trillion market. So again, this is just increasing the opportunity as we start to shift away from the tobacco and nicotine products. And even though the tobacco market is actually growing, we have seen a decline in sales of cigarettes in the US over the years and over the past couple decades, which again to me is just a signal that people are wanting to quit smoking the tobacco cigarettes and are trying to switch off to alternative methods. Maybe it's a vape, maybe it's TAAT, the hemp cigarettes. There's multiple options out there, but this just goes to shows that people are being more conscious and are actually seeing the health effects of cigarettes and trying to do something about it. Another stat that I found pretty shocking and a good sign for TAAT is that smoking remains surprisingly popular still in Europe and European countries, where in the smoking rate in the US and in North America is actually under 10%. So under 1 in 10 people actually smoke cigarettes. In Europe and in certain countries, it's actually above 20%, and some countries like France actually above 30%, where it's more of a norm to actually smoke and people do it a lot more often. And this is great news because just recently, actually just a few days ago, it came out in the news that TAAT just signed an over $1 million sale to actually distribute their product starting in Europe. So really going after a global market and starting to capture some of those countries where they actually have a much higher rate of smoking and a much more higher demand for their actual alternatives over the years. I really think this is going to help them grow and see higher and higher revenue numbers to come. So just to nicely recap, TAAT offers an alternative cigarette, a hemp-based cigarette, to the regular and popular cigarettes that are tobacco and nicotine based. TAAT's product is absolutely nicotine and tobacco free, and they're really starting to see a global expansion. They're really starting to spread across the United States and now into Europe, trying to spread out their reach and really get access to that over $800 billion tobacco industry. And even if they just shave off a sliver of the market share in this market, again, we're looking at millions and hundreds of millions of dollars in annual revenue. So I really think TAAT has a lot of things going for it, and the industry and the tailwinds are really pointing towards a profitable and bumping business. So there you have it. That's TAAT, and hopefully you can kind of see now the opportunity and how they're truly disrupting the tobacco industry by providing an alternative solution to cigarettes that is tobacco and nicotine free, but still acts, feels, and tastes like a real cigarette, by offering an awesome alternative for smokers to hopefully try to quit. In North America, at least, we've definitely been seeing a decline in the number of people who are actually smoking cigarettes and more of an increase in alternatives such as vapes and things like TAAT, an alternative to these regular cigarettes. And the industry is an over $800 billion industry. So even if TAAT can just carve out a small market share of this industry, you're looking at millions and millions and millions of dollars in actual revenue on an annual basis, which is great. TAAT also has a lot of things going for it in the news recently. They've been adding distributors across different states in the United States and growing fast, really starting to capitalize and spread out their actual reach. Not to mention they're actually expanding with distributors into Europe, where there's actually a high number of people who smoke. So it's definitely a market that they're going after and trying to capture as well. So you can really see that they're branching out and they're selling out of their products in the actual stores that they're selling them in. They've seen a large number of clients actually reach out to actually get restocked just shortly after they got stocked in the first place. So that's always a good sign and means that there's demand there for the product. So all in all, a lot of things that are going well for TAAT, and I definitely think there's an opportunity there for potential investment. So with that being said, make sure to stay tuned for video number 2 coming out later this week or early next week, where I'll actually dive deeper into the trends and the actual stock chart analysis. We'll look at some charts, we'll go into the financial statements, and take a deep dive into the management team that's running TAAT. So that's going to be another awesome video, so definitely stay tuned for that. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you're new. A lot more amazing content coming your way, and I'll catch you all in the next video.